What makes a man a man? The struggles that he goes through, his ups, his downs, his positive reactions, his negative reactions. That's what we're going to talk about today. How the biggest issue most men run into is simply trying to be a man and live up to the expectations that are put towards us, as well as somehow live up to the expectations we place on ourselves. A man's journey to being a man.
Started from a DM, now she wanna see him. If you wanna link, baby, gotta be the weekend. Just follow me.
So, we are going to talk about a man's journey to becoming a man and what that truly entails. Now, to fully discuss and understand what that actually means, we are first going to have to talk about the expectations placed on a man by society, by other men, by women, and by the man himself. So we're going to start with the expectations placed on a man by society. Now, these expectations placed on a man by society are pretty straightforward. As a man, you are supposed to be the breadwinner, the provider. You are supposed to be the protector. You are supposed to be the planner. You are supposed to be the umbrella that shields your household from all things, all outside threats. That is if you have a family, or you're married, or you have a significant other, whatever. There are expectations placed on men who are single. Take into effect, a man is always expected to ask out a woman. That is what it is. A man has to put forth the effort. Along with that, men are expected to be cheaters. Men are expected to not be emotionally mature. So a lot of these expectations are, I would say they're all negatives to an extent, but some just have a negative or positive connotation with them. So, to break these down, the reason, the idea of a man having to be the provider or the protector is detrimental to the mentality and well-being of men in general is all men are not designed this way. And I mean that from a physical and mental standpoint. All right, hear me out. If you as a woman were to be dating a guy who is 120 pounds, soaking wet, he's not a fighter. It's not who he is. But because society has put this expectation out that we are to be protectors, if something were to happen, something that you could have walked away from, that he could have walked away from, but because you feel insulted or he may feel insulted, he now feels he needs to protect you or protect his fragile understanding of his manhood. And now the situation has escalated and he could possibly be harmed. Now, this is simply because nobody told him it was acceptable to walk away from situations. You're the protector, the defender. Right? So, now he's laying in the pool of his own blood. And you're shocked. You shouldn't be, but you are. Let's go with a little less graphic of an example. So, as a man, you're supposed to be the provider, right? So, because of that, you work hard. You are a hard worker. But your job does not recognize it. Now, of course, the smart thing to do is to bet on yourself. Go look for another job, quit that one, move on. Start your own business, whatever. But betting on yourself doesn't mean starting your own business all the time. It just means knowing your worth and taking the risk. But instead of doing that, because you have to be the provider, you stay at this job. and it doesn't get better, it gets worse. You get bitter, you get angry, and you start taking it out on your family because the only reason you're there is because they're there. When the truth is, the only reason you're there is because you were told that a man has to provide at all times. That it's not acceptable for the woman to be the provider. Now let me say this. Superficially, this has all changed. And the reason I say superficially is people will say it is okay for the woman to be the provider. It is okay for the man to be a stay-at-home dad. It is okay for the woman to be the protector. It is okay. They'll say these things, but it is rare that you will see them in action truly show they believe this. Somebody can tell you, yo man, it is fine that your wife is the breadwinner and you take care of the kids. But if you get into an argument, first thing they're going to do is call you a stay-at-home dad. Punk ass who does whatever his woman says because she wears the pants in the relationship. That's what society has bred. And although superficially society is changing, these are deep-rooted teachings. They won't change as easily, no matter what somebody says. And because of a lot of these expectations being placed on men by society, there have been negative consequences of it. Not only from men, but from society's reaction to these men. So, a very stressed man can get put into a simple situation, blow up, and beat somebody. He is seen as violent. He is not seen as possibly having a mental breakdown. Just another violent guy. A guy could feel overwhelmed and as if no one cares and commit suicide. And yeah, people's understanding of suicide is a little different, but people will still sit there and judge him. Like, how could he leave his family? Well, you don't know what stress he was under. And that it's never okay to leave your family, especially not in such a complete and total manner. And if you ever feel that you are suicidal, you should seek help. I once felt that way. I didn't seek help, but help came to me, and I got lucky. Everybody isn't lucky that way. I'll probably tell that story at a later date, because it's a few of them, to be honest. But the expectations that society places on men are not fair to men. And I want to say this. I'm not saying men have it harder than women, so I don't want to see anybody say that that's what I'm saying. I'm talking about the unique issues that men have to deal with, and society thinking it's okay to do these things. Like, since men are expected to be the providers, right? Let's look at child support. Extremely biased system. Why? Because men are meant to be the providers. So even if we're not in the family or at home, we're expected to provide for the home. They can say child support is for the child, and situation to situation, I've seen cases where what that man is paying in child support, one, is not substantial enough. Two, is exactly what would be needed to co-parent the child. Three, I've seen guys paying enough to basically take care of the kid themselves. But I have seen some child supports be such a ridiculous amount that the mother of the child doesn't even work. Because why would she if she's getting... I think I've seen somebody, they had a decent job. They were paying like $2,500 a month. Like, my man's. And child support. Like, that's insane to me. And I think that system is skewed. And that system is skewed because of the unfair expectations placed on men, as well as the unfair way men are viewed. But back to society's expectations. So societal expectations for men are unbelievably unfair. All right, they want men to be these emotionless, rock steady, keep it going, never give up creatures. At the same time, we are expected to be emotionally available and open to our significant others and our children. You guys want us to be able to turn our emotions on and off like some weird switch. That's not fair. The expectation that a man has to be a provider. Well, that's not fair either, because I feel like whoever is best suited to it, and this is relationship to relationships, that piece by piece, what works for you and your significant other, but whoever's best suited to take care of the financial aspect of the home, and whoever's best suited to take care of the physical aspect of the home. Some guys are really good at taking care of the home, and they're just not able to hold down a steady job. It's not who they are, but they still bring a benefit to that woman's life. Why is that not okay? I mean, being a man is much more difficult than I believe anyone thinks. And the expectations placed on us by society are what makes it that way. Men are always trying to be two sides of a coin. See, one side of us is who we really are. And societal expectations in relationships have created this as well. I was talking to one of my friends about it, and like he said, when you're in a relationship, a lot of the times you have, as he stated, there's a boyfriend us, then there's us. And as long as we aren't able to truly be ourselves, we tend to not be happy. And eventually those relationships unravel. And, people say, well, you just be honest, be who you are. And it's not that simple, because a lot of women don't listen when a man is telling them who they are, which is how some women end up with these really bad boyfriends that they just stay with because they think he's going to change. And some women are just uninterested in who we are, and they care more about who they want us to be, who they think we can be, or who we should be. And it's not fair. At work, there's always two sides of us. There's work us, and there's outside work us. Now that's men and women have that. And and I don't mean like there's the professional you, and then no. I mean a version of you at work that real you probably wouldn't even like. Not you in a professional manner, but a whole another side. Like, it's not anything in work you that is you. That's what society has created. A pressure that has fractured most men into being two people. And it's sad. But remember to ask any man in your life if they're okay, if they're able to deal, not necessarily with societal pressures, but just with anything. Men are not checked up on because we're expected to be rocks. So please check up on your male friends, check up on your boyfriends, check up on your husbands, check up on your sons and your grandsons, check on your fathers, your grandfathers, your uncles, your nephews, your cousins. Check on the men in your lives, because a lot of times they're not okay, even when they say they are. And society's created a world where if we say we're okay, that's good enough. And usually when we say we're okay, it's because it's not. All right, well, I'm out of here. On the next one, we are going to talk about the expectations that men place on other men, as I see them. So remember to like, share, subscribe, and don't just watch me build my kingdom. Help me build my empire. And I'm out.
Started from a DM, now she wanna see him. If you wanna link, baby, gotta be the weekend. Just follow me. Just follow me.